There is one statistic that captures just how pervasive GLP-1 drugs have become. According to researchers in the United States, virtually every American adult now sees advertisements for these injections at least once a week.
Have you always had trouble with your weight? Me too.
Last year alone, manufacturers spent more than $500 million on television ads. At the Super Bowl, the football event that is the most watched TV broadcast in the United States, and one of the world's most expensive advertising platforms, GLP-1 retailers bought 4 commercial slots, broadcasting their message to more than 100 million viewers.
Zepbound helps adults with obesity lose weight and keep it off.
For me, I think in the era of this Ozempic craze that we're in at the moment, there is a lot of pressure on my peers and myself to lean into this drug and to sort of lose weight. And it reminds me of sort of growing up in the early 90s.
Thanks to an all-new program that helps make losing weight healthier.
Things like Weight Watchers and other weight loss groups were intensely pressuring young girls to lose as much weight as possible.
I have felt a real resurgence of pressure to lose weight immediately.
Lose weight and keep it off with the new once daily pill from Wegovy.
I have since paid for the ad-free version of every streaming service just to be spared from all of the Ozempic and Wegovy ads.
I actually first saw the ads when I was on holiday in America, and it was just bizarre to me how flippant the ads were and how normalized they were.
For so long,
I felt stuck. But Zepbound means change.
We are seeing images and videos of people who are bigger. They look depressed, they look sad, they're not moving around as much. And then in the after shots, it's them significantly smaller, suddenly happier, more active.
I lost 75 pounds on road. I cried when I could finally run a mile.
This perpetuates the narrative that to exist in a bigger body is 100% depressing, it's uncomfortable, and it further stigmatizes bigger people as being lazy or unconfident or having low self-esteem. And these are really dangerous narratives to spread.
The first and most well-known GLP-1 drug, Ozempic, was launched in 2017 as a treatment for type 2 diabetes, the most common form of the disease. However, researchers soon noticed something else. Patients were losing weight. The drug works by mimicking GLP-1, a hormone that helps regulate appetite and keeps people feeling full for longer. Since Ozempic, markets have been flooded by other GLP-1 brands and wellness platforms, each of them launching aggressive advertising campaigns that transformed a medical treatment into a cultural phenomenon. Professor Matt Motta studies the role advertising plays in shaping public health perceptions. Together with colleagues, he conducted a study examining how exposure to GLP-1 advertising might impact the way that people feel about themselves and their own weight. At the heart of the research was the concept of priming.
Priming is a scientific concept, which is essentially the idea that the things you hear about in the media, on television, advertisements, etc., can make certain ideas more cognitively accessible. That's a lot of scientific jargon. What I mean here is that if I see more GLP-1 ads telling me how important it is to be thin, then the likelihood that I think about thinness as something that's ideal, as something that's worth pursuing, is in theory going to go up. We find that people who see more GLP-1s think about their own weight in negative terms.
We're not just talking about feelings here, we are talking about behaviors. When folks have a more negative body image, they are more likely to engage in risky behaviors. They are more likely to engage in disordered eating. We are starting to hear some reports now about people with anorexia and bulimia finding ways to get access to these drugs, which are, of course, not making them healthier. And it's easy to feel like, boo-hoo, teenage girls feel bad about how they look. No, we're talking about people of all ages, of all genders. We're talking about people across lines of race and income. It really is like a pressing and immediate health issue. It's not just a matter of like, go find a therapist.
Across cultures, throughout history, there have always been standards for what the ideal body should look like. They have rarely been realistic and have rarely been kind, especially to women. The 1990s and early 2000s were defined by a culture of fat phobia and a preference for extreme thinness. the media could be merciless towards anyone who did not conform. Tennis player Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, endured years of misogynistic and racist abuse about her body.
And everyone called me fat. Fat. Every paper, the headline was fat, fat, fat. And
then came the 2010s.
Thank God for charisma.
And the body positivity movement. Now, some critics argue that the culture is moving back in the opposite direction. And perhaps the clearest symbol of that reversal is Serena Williams herself. After years of being attacked for her appearance, she is now an ambassador for a wellness company, fronting major GLP-1 advertising campaigns that encourage people to lose weight.
For us to get to a stage where somebody that has trained her body to the standard it is to fall, for lack of a better term, victim to the Ozempic and the GLP-1 craze is really heartbreaking, because it shows that you could be at peak physical performance and still feel as if you are not small enough.
And before I say anything, I just want to recognize that Serena Williams' journey with weight loss is a very personal one. All that being said, there are several reasons why her advertising partnership with Ro has been controversial. One, of course, is the fact that her husband has a financial stake in Ro. But I think the other, and perhaps most problematic idea here, that Serena Williams is a professional athlete. This idea that, well, if Serena Williams needs to be taking GLP-1s, maybe I do too, is something that I think a lot of folks are worried about.
The addition of folks like Serena Williams, Charles Barkley as spokespeople for these kinds of GLP-1 drugs strike me as like a very obvious attempt to increase their customer base. That sort of opens the door and models for folks that sort of no matter who you are, it doesn't actually mean anything if you decide to opt into GLP-1s. It's a good, healthy choice regardless of your size.
GLP-1 manufacturers and the companies that sell them are well aware of the scrutiny surrounding their products. Browse their websites, and the messaging is carefully calibrated. Promises are accompanied by disclaimers. Benefits are highlighted, so too are the potential side effects and risks. These disclosures are not just good practice, of course. They are often required under regulations that govern the marketing of such drugs. The question is, do the warnings carry the same weight as the images, testimonials, and success stories that dominate the advertising? Does the legally mandated language compete with the headlines and the news hype?
The media narrative around GLP-1s has heralded them as miracle drugs. We've seen headlines like the New York Times running a piece called "Ozempic could crush the junk food industry." Here we are if junk food still exists. I think using that kind of sensationalized and superlative language really leads us away from a more precise and grounded conversation.
I personally have not seen as many narratives speaking to the dangers of these drugs. Now, one trend that is very worrying is that you are getting people who fall below the BMI required to buy these drugs, who purchase these drugs online.
I think the media needs to remember that there is a scientific process here that needs to play out. GLP-1 drugs are being studied right now for the purpose of potentially managing or treating Alzheimer's. There are scientific studies going on right now related to substance use disorder, and these are all very promising areas of research, but we have to be very careful to not let our enthusiasm about what these drugs can do in one area allow us to believe that they might be some kind of fountain of youth, that they might be some kind of panacea for everything under the sun. We need to be very cautious and follow the science on the GLP-1 drugs.